Welcome to the Harari Network, where we're connecting people through networking. And for today's video, we're going to continue off from our lab. Last left off at port security, configuring on the ports for the switch. And now what we're going to do is go about something called VLANs, Virtual Local Area Networks. And why would we have VLANs, right? Well, let's just say that in our environment, we have different departments, right? We have, like, say, a sales department, marketing department, accounting department, all right? There could be many other more, of course, right, within your environment. But let's just start off with those three. And let's say that you want to separate any users in their own specific network, or they would say networking or broadcast domain, for the sales, marketing, and accounting, right? So let me just show you basically what my plan was right here. So we see that I specified different VLANs right here. VLAN 10, this is what we're going to do. We're going to call it sales, and it's going to belong to this network. So the third octet, we specified 10 because we want to make it the same as the VLAN ID to identify that this device that has any address of this, like any client, is going to belong in this VLAN. And same thing for 20, which is going to be for marketing, and 30 for accounting. And the whole point is that we want to make sure that we can isolate like different networks within a layer 2 environment. And throughout time, you're going to realize, well, that these different VLANs actually, they're not going to be able to communicate with each other because they're different networks. But any users within the same VLAN, they can communicate with each other because they're connected to a layer 2 switch, since it's within layer 2. So that means all these computers right now, they can communicate with each other, and we set that up. But now we're going to split it out to 3 different, smaller, isolated, segmented networks, all right? So let's do that. So let's go on our laptop here, and we're going to open that up. And let's go into the command prompt, and we're going to do SSH -L, and then we're going to specify the username was admin, right? Just like we usually do. And then the management IP address for the switch. And let's see if I am missing something here. Okay, so let's do that again. Wrong IP address. My fault. It's always good to keep in mind what you've done. Oh, the password. Wrong password too. Pardon me about that. Now it should be good. Yep. Alright. And we should be in the privilege exec mode. There we go. So now let's type show run and understand what's going on here, okay? And this is what we set up right here, right? Cool. So we have a VLAN interface here. So first, let's actually set up management interface VLANs as well too. And we're going to go through the interface VLAN 10. All right. And we're going to specify an IP address 192.168.10.253 with a /24, which is 222.55.0. Okay, and we're going to do a no shut. Okay, now if we exit, we could save the config, and let's do a do show run, and let's see if it came up, if we have it. Yeah, so it's up, it's good, right? And another way you can find out if any interfaces are up is by doing show interface status, just to keep that in mind, so we can see what's connected and what's not, right? Or show IP interface brief, because I want to see the VLAN interfaces as well. And we could see that, well, it's down for the time being. But VLAN 1 is up, because that's our default VLAN, by the way, and the native VLAN on a switch when you first bring it out and you configure it. So I'm just trying to make sure. Okay, so it is no shut, but it's okay for now. We just want to configure them. So let's just keep that in mind. And we're going to give this one an IP address of 192.168.20.255.255.255.0. Let's see. Let me make sure. Why it's not accepting this. All right. Oh yeah, my mistake. I got to specify an IP address. Yeah, I did .0. That's a network address. Yes, so here we go. That's why. That's why it's always good to verify your work when you're doing something and look into why it's not working, right? Or it's not being set the way you want it to. But now anyways, let's do no shut. And let's exit. We're going to do the same thing for the other interface as well too. So VLAN 30. And then I'm going to keep in mind what I did before. So this is going to be the management IP address for the VLAN. Just to keep in mind here, right? So, all right, I'm going to save that. And now we should see VLAN 10, 20, and 30 has been configured. If we do show running config, and yeah, we can see that there, so it's fine. Now, those interfaces will come up. The reason why I actually didn't come up, it just came to my mind, is because we haven't configured the VLANs yet, right? So now, let's specify VLAN 10. So all you have to do is type the command VLAN to create a VLAN and specify the number, so 10. And then you can give it a name, and let's name this sales, like we planned. Yeah, there's no shut. But I could find that out if I just did this, right? And that's basically it. All right, now if we specify here VLAN 20 as the next VLAN and call it marketing, right? So name marketing. We can exit that, go through VLAN 30 and enter, and in VLAN 30 we want to name it accounting. So we have 3 different departments for the time being. Let's just keep it like that. All right, so now we're going to exit, and we can obviously see by doing show run, do show run, but let's save it first here. Okay, WR is writing to the memory, so just to keep that in mind. Or you could do a copy run start, that's another command to do the same exact thing. But anyways, now let's do show run. This is your most typical command, right? But there's other ways we can check VLAN information too, just to let you know. And I will mention that right after this. So we see the interface has been configured, and maybe I went too fast. We should be able to see that VLANs should have been configured too. All right. And oh, well, we haven't seen it in here. Okay. So you're thinking, shoot, we cannot see in the running config. But like I said, there is another way. So we can say do show VLAN brief. Okay. So we do see those 3 VLANs we made, but they're not associated to any ports. So now let's find out which device are connected to which, right? So if we remember how we set this up, we can find out which ones belong to where, right? By going through the running config and going through if there's any communication, we can know like the MAC address that if learned, we can find the computer with that, right? Or we could do a show MAC address table to see where each computer communicates, right? And I have to do a do because I am in global config mode before I do any show commands. So these are the only ones we got to see because it's the only ones we tried. But so port 8, 9, and 10. 11 is the port that I'm actually using to access this switch as we speak. So let's just look here how things are going to go about. Yeah, so I made it in a way that, as we see here, the port number is 1 digit more than the PC number. So this is number 1, this is 2, this is 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then, well, this one should be 8 actually, if I'm not mistaken. Let me make sure about it. We can do this to find out. So actually, yeah, what we can do is this. So let's go into the command prompt and let's ping the switch. And it should work. There's an ARP and then it should accept it. Yep. Okay. Go back to this laptop and see, okay, based on that, that should be number 8. We can see this MAC address, and we can check the MAC address of this device by doing ipconfig/all. And yes, this is port 8. See, the MAC address is the same. That's how you can find out between the computer's MAC address and the port where it learned the MAC address from for the show MAC address table. So this is actually port 8 right here. Okay. So let's make 1, 2, 3 belong to sales. All right. This is going to be on port 5, 4, 5, and 6 for 3, 4, and 5. These ones are going to belong to marketing. Okay. And then this one here, we can add 6, 7, 8, 9 to belong to accounting. So let's do that. So that would be ports from 1 to 3 over here. So 0/1, 2, and 3. Then 0/4, 5, and 6. And then 7, 8, 9, and then 10. Let's just do that. We have an extra one for accounting as well too. So what we're going to do is assign the port to belong to that VLAN. And by doing that, that means a port belongs to one VLAN. That's going to be known as an access port, by the way. But let's say that if you wanted these VLANs and the traffic from these computers from the VLAN, let's say communicate out to other switches, then you'd have to configure a port between switches known as a trunk port. Trunk port is a type of port that's going to accept multiple VLAN traffic. Access port only accepts one VLAN on the port. So that's what we're going to do right now in this case. Just configure access ports for these, for the switches, for the VLANs, based on how we plan things out as we spoke just now. So now let's just do that. So we're going to do interface range, and we're going to do F0/1, 2, 3. And in order to configure it as an access port, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do switch port. Well, we did it as an access port actually, if we remember, now that I think about it. Why? Because we configured port security. So actually, before I even do this, to verify that, let's do show run. And we see that there's access ports already. So we already did half of the battle of this setup already. So all we have to do is just add the VLANs to associate for those ports. So in order to do that, we're going to do switch port access. All right. And if you didn't know what was the next step, you can do a question mark and you're able to see access. Right. And there's also different choices for trunk, voice, protected. There's priority. And then there's port security and to not negotiate as well, which has to deal with basically with trunking and things of that nature. But now let's continue and move on. So VLAN, and then we're going to do 10. Okay, and we're going to do, and let's verify that. So we can see that it's been configured as the specific VLAN. So we see that's VLAN 10. All right. Now we have to do 4, 5, and 6. So let's do that. Interface range F0/4 to 6. And we're going to do the same thing. And the thing is, we're going to do VLAN 20 for marketing like we mentioned. Okay? And then let's do the next one from 7 to 10 and specify that as 30. Okay. And we're going to save that. So now we are going to look into it. So we see that's 10, 4 to 6 is 20, 7 to 10 is 30. And 11 is us. We're just going to leave ours the way it is for the time being. We can make changes to that later on throughout this journey. But let's just keep it about like this. All right. So now the thing is, let's say we brought in we go into one of the computers. Right? We should not be able to communicate to the switch's management IP address, because now it belongs to VLAN 10. So if you use the network range of 192.168.2.253, that's for VLAN 1's the interface is IP address, right? The management IP. So this should fail. This shouldn't work. And let's just make sure of that, because it's on a different network for this computer. It's not on the same VLAN as this IP address. So we can see that's timed out. But we did configure an interface for IP address for VLAN 10, for interface VLAN 10, for interface VLAN 20, and interface VLAN 30, right? So now what we have to do is, if this belongs to VLAN 10, we have to keep in mind that we have to make a change here. So instead of .2, over here for the third octet, we're going to do 10, okay? And we're going to save that. Okay. So now if we do this, because I specified an IP address, let's see if this works. It works. And we can see that we're able to communicate to the switch because it's on the same network. This is all layer 2 integrated for this, right? So you have to keep that in mind. So now we should see a MAC address through port security on port number 1 as well too. So let's double check that actually. Or we can just do show port security if we want to specify it. Or let's double check this. We can exit this and just do show from here. Let's do interface, right? And we're going to say F0/1. And we can see that I learned this MAC address, which should be the MAC address of this device. And let's verify that. ipconfig/all. We can see it's the same MAC address. So there you have it, because this computer did communicate to the switch. All right. And now we're going to set up the same here, and we're going to be able to test communication between these two computers, right? So what we can do is go here, change the third octet to a 10. All right. We see this is the MAC address. Keep that in mind. So if we do a ping to 192.168.10.2. So instead of pinging the gateway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ping this computer. So not the gateway, I mean the switch. I'm going to ping the computer. We don't have a gateway yet. A gateway is in order for us to get outside of our local area network. This is all within a local area network, just to keep in mind. So now, if we do this, communication should go through here, and then it's going to try to find out who this is. That's why you do a ARP. It's going to do an ARP resolution. That's why the first ping will fail. Once it finds out, communication occurs. They both know how to reach to each other. So let's see. But in this case, it already knows the actual IP to MAC. The switch learned that port. So that's why I was able to do that. But you can see all of them are successful. But if it doesn't know it, usually the first one will fail because of that. And I've probably mentioned it in earlier videos as well too. But just as a reminder. So this should not take long for it to basically work, right? Okay. Let's bring up this one here. So let's do that. All right. Now, let's test this. It's able to ping, because in the same VLAN, VLAN 10. I'm I should be able to get this one too. So this computer was communicating with this computer and this computer. All right. Now, I'm going to set up the rest of these computers to make sure they belong in the same VLAN. You get the concept now. It'll be the same situation if I try to ping an IP address that's in a different VLAN. It wouldn't work. So let's go here. And for this one, we're going to do 20. And let's change this to 2 since it's in a different VLAN now. Okay. All right. And then we're going to change this one here to 3. Okay, so now we're going to add this one too for number 4. All right. Cool. That should be good. Now, since these computers never communicated with each other, right? Let's do this. It was able to work. You can see there is communication, right? So the computers within the marketing VLAN could speak with each other. But let's see and prove the point that I mentioned, that these different VLANs, so sales cannot communicate with marketing or accounting, and the other way around for all the other VLANs as well too. And to prove that, let's try to ping one of the network addresses for VLAN 10. It's going to fail, right? The only way we're able to make different VLANs communicate with each other is if we have layer 3 networking involved, routing. We have to have routing, because that's the whole purpose of routing. It allows different networks to communicate with each other. But whereas on a switch, it only allows clients within the same network to communicate with each other. Unless you have obviously a layer 3 switch where you can actually enable routing on it, and it has some functions of a router, but it's not like a router in some sense, but in a lot of ways it is. With the switching as well too. In those cases, you can have different VLANs communicate with each other. And we're definitely going to show that towards other videos throughout this journey. But just like I said here, it failed, right? And then we're going to set up these ones over here to make sure that they also belong to the right network. And let's do that. And we're going to do this. Right. We're going to go here. And we're going to configure this as well too. All right. Let's do this one as well to make sure it's in the same VLAN also. And this one as well. So let's check this. This should be the last one. So 30.5. Okay. Now let's test. I should be able to communicate with all of the clients within the same network. So all the other accounting clients. So this should be successful. Yep. And we can see it works, right? the other one. So they're all able to communicate, right? And then for some of those computers, if we check on our laptop now, we're going to log in again. All right. Okay. And let's do a show run. We should be able to see some of these ports learn a MAC address, right? All right. Yeah, because they're in communication with each other. So it learned all those ports. We can see that on the MAC address sticky. And these interfaces all should be up now. So let's do a show IP interface brief to verify that. All right. And now we see, because it's actually communicating to it for the computers and all that stuff, we can see that they're up and they're working. And you can just save this to be safe, of course, and we already saved it, but just for in case. And that's all for today. So I hope you understood more about VLANs, why would we set them up, how we would do it, how we can verify it, what would we configuring a switch virtual interface like we did for VLAN 1 when we wanted to manage the switch and stuff like that. So we're able to see that these computers are able to communicate to the switch, and they're able to communicate to other computers within the same VLAN. So we have 3 segmented networks now, and we are able to also see that they were not able to communicate with each other for the 3 different segmented networks because we need routing involved. And that's all I wanted to tell you. So I hope you got a lot out of it. And for anybody that has been watching, I appreciate the support and the love and the drive for me to keep doing this. And if you're getting things out of this, that's what I wanted to do at the end of the day, for you to get something out of this. But so if you did enjoy it, you know, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And if you know other people that want to learn these things and understand more of it, you know, let them know about it as well too. And until next time, take care.